This video will be a brief documentary of the rights and responsibilities of women in the U.S. military. I will go over how it has evolved and changed over the course of time. The role of women has changed drastically over the history of the United States, especially compared to modern day, where the right to apply for and be in combat roles, a long-deserved right, is now open to women. Sadly, it has taken this long for our leaders to promote equal rights, and they are responsible for the injustice done to women. I will discuss this as a timeline to show how it has evolved in a much easier to comprehend format than just jotting around to random topics. World War II was the beginning where women were starting to be ever so slightly integrated into the U.S. military. Almost 400,000 women served the U.S. Armed Forces, a number that exceeded the total male troop strength in 1939. They served in the Army and Navy Nurse Corps, Women's Army Corps, Army Air Forces, and in the Coast Guard. None of their roles involved direct combat, and compared to a place like Russia, was very lacking during that time. Example being, a woman named Lyudmila Pavlichenko, who had sniped a confirmed 309 Axis soldiers, including 36 German soldiers during World War II. Most women in the U.S. took over jobs their spouses had left, like industrial work, which was very important for the war. This was the ideal role for women to perform during World War II, and was very pivotal to the success of the U.S. Army. Two policy issues intertwined to advance women's position in the U.S. Armed Forces. The decision to end the draft and to rely on an all-volunteer military force, and the proposed Equal Rights Amendment to the Constitution. These policy and legislative moves focused attention on the issue of women's equality in the armed forces, and throughout the decade, barriers to women's full integration into military life began to fall. Weapons training were given to women, and it was explained via letter that said training was only to provide confidence, not prepare persons for combat. Skipping ahead to the 1980s, the first women cadets graduated from these service academies, and the numbers of women in the armed forces increased dramatically to 12% of total personnel by the end of the decade. Significant numbers of women who held jobs traditionally considered male only and women were deployed to conflict zones in Grenada and Panama. In January of 1991, more than 33,000 servicewomen were deployed to Southwest Asia during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And the role of women in the military passed another milestone. Many women were placed in quote-quote non-combat roles where it was impossible to avoid danger in enemy attack. 15 women were killed and 2 imprisoned by Iraq. Enemy attack was just as common on the battlefield as it was in the low danger zones. Women served aboard Navy hospital ships and destroyer tankers. They commanded units from Graves registration detachments to battalion-sized material management centers. Most women were involved in support roles, quote-quote, out of danger. On June 18, 2013, the Pentagon lifted the ban on women to serve in combat roles. This is a milestone for women across the U.S. Now women can properly serve and defend our country with equal rights to that of men, but now they also have a lot more responsibility to hold. Katie Gores, Julia Carroll, and Cristina Fuentes Montenegro have become the first entry-level enlisted women to complete infantry training as part of the Marines Corps' effort towards integrating women into combat assignments. They will be the first to experience true equality and be involved in combat like their male counterparts have been able to do since the beginning of this country. Now, in this portion of the video, I will compare our military rights to those of women in a similar country who is also in the UN and also a close ally, the UK. Women may join the British Armed Forces in all roles except those whose primary duty is to close with and kill the enemy. Infantry, Household, Cavalry, Royal Armored Corps, Royal Marines Commandos, RAF Regiment, Special Air Service, and Special Boat Service. Female personnel currently make up around 9% of the British Armed Forces. However, female combatants can be found throughout Britain's military history. This is very similar to the stance of the US on women in the military, previous to the lift on the ban of women in combat. In this final portion, I will compare our rights to that of another military where women have a low status in society and can serve equally in the military. This is one of the world's most powerful militaries, China's PLA. Women have been able to serve in combat roles since 1995 in China and have performed equally if not better. They are able to serve in all three branches of the Chinese military. Some of the female soldiers are said to be as strong and as fast as the male ones. Even though women have a low status in politics, at least they can serve and die for their country properly, like they should be able to. In the end, I think it was a proper decision for the women to be able to serve in combat in the US, but I think that it came too late. In my opinion, it's ironic to boost equality and equal rights and freedom, but not practice it. Kind of a little hypocritical of the US. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a rating, a thumbs up, but don't subscribe, because this is a brief, one video, one hit wonder channel. Goodbye.